Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power of Man podcast. My name's Rory Paquette. I know you know that. I just like to remind myself how grateful I am to be sitting in this chair. Folks, if you're not out there doing what you're doing, all the like and subscribe and sharing and everything else, I don't get to sit here in my chair and do what I'm doing. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Listen, I want to get right to this guest because I think his subject matter is just incredible for our listening audience. And I have a bunch of questions. And unfortunately, my wife's probably going to have a bunch of questions for me when I get off this interview. So let me cut right to the chase. The, we have, let's see, with us today, the nutrition detective, host of Love Your Liver, a live stream on YouTube, and creator of the DIY health recovery program, Love Your Liver, Dr. Garrett Smith. Doc, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate you coming on today. You know who we're talking to today. A lot of men, a lot of men
Yes.
out there with some health issues. Before we get rolling into each of these issues that, I know you're, an expert on that we want to dive into, just give everybody an idea, who is Dr. Garrett Smith, how'd you get into all this, so on and so forth.
Oh wow. Okay. Just no small topic to start with. No.
No.
Anyway, I'm for you guys out there. I'm 49 years old. I'm a father of two. Um, been doing health stuff. I got started in weightlifting, like lifting Kmart concrete dumbbells in my house when I was 11. That eventually led into nutrition, and I became a personal trainer, and that led to a degree in physiology, and that eventually led to me deciding to go to naturopathic medical school in Arizona. We are licensed physicians. We have a medical board and everything. And I didn't want to be a dentist like my father. I wanted to do more medical stuff. And I was always interested in knowing how to fix me. I always figured like it might sound selfish, but I was like, this is the only body I got. So I'm interested in learning how to fix it. So I got into that, and then I had a practice for a while I was a personal trainer for about 12 years. And then I had a practice in Tucson, starting about 2006 until COVID hit. And we were very lucky. About 6 months before COVID hit, we decided to go all online, all virtual.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so since then I've been doing my whole virtual thing. We got the Love Your Liver program for the DIYers. We got myself and several other what I call health facilitators who read hair tests and blood tests to tell people like what they're toxic in and what they're deficient in. And then we seem to be fixing things that other people have no idea how to fix. So it's been pretty cool. So that's basically how I got to where I am today.
Interesting. And I know that you said that it's selfish, but you're worried about fixing your own body. That it sounds like from what I've been reading about you is that you've actually been able to have some success with that, curing some of your own issues.
Oh yeah, I mean, I had psoriasis, and I saw that get over the years. I saw it get worse and better with the various things I did, and I couldn't put it together, but I just saw it would get better and worse. And I thought, okay, there's things that I'm doing or not doing that's causing that. And well, let me go over the three things that I really had issues with. I had psoriasis. I was developing like prostate issues, obviously a big concern to aging men. And I had terrible insomnia, and I had this lower back stiffness really bad. So over the years, with the psoriasis, at some point I figured out, well, actually the psoriasis just went away as I figured out the low vitamin A diet thing. So vitamin A is the main cause of psoriasis. And there's a study I believe it's the New England Journal of Medicine in 1947 where they put like 13 people on a low vitamin A diet. And by the end of, I forget how many months it was, 4 or 6 months, like eight of the 11, their psoriasis was either gone or massively improved. And yet no one talks about this,
Wow.
and they didn't die. Nothing bad happened to them. The only guy who had any problem in the study was he was literally not eating enough food. And when they fixed his food intake, he got better, and then his psoriasis would start to get better. So it's really interesting that nobody talks about this. And there's other research showing that there's more vitamin A in psoriasis tissue. So that was part of the things that led me to here. Now let's just talk about the prostate thing. So my father died about 13 years ago of prostate cancer.
I'm sorry, man.
So it is what it is. But I started developing like BPH symptoms in my 20s, in my mid 20s when I was in naturopathic medical school. And the other practice, I would go to the clinic shifts to see if they could help me, as like a guinea pig or whatever, so they could learn on it. And they kind of ignored it. It was almost like they couldn't believe that a mid-20s guy. It was kind of disappointing for naturopathic students to be ignoring a problem, but I would tell them all the things I'd tried, and I think they just kind of went, "Well, we don't know what to do." So over the years, that got better. One of the interesting things that led to my ideas of most disease is nearly all disease is an accumulation of toxicities of various types and nutritional deficiencies of various types. Well, I remember I had what's called tinea versicolor, which is a little skin fungus, but basically all it does is on your pale spots, you look red in those spots, and on your tan spots, you look paler. So it doesn't really hurt you. It's just annoying and you're spotted. So I go to the dermatologist and he says, okay, well, you can take some ketoconazole, an antifungal. He said, if you take this, if you're one of the people who are susceptible, so he said, not everybody's susceptible to it. It's in the air, it blows around, it's a spore.
Hmm.
If you're susceptible, you will catch it every summertime when you get sweaty. And I was kind of like, okay. So immediately I start going, well, why am I susceptible? Why are other people not, and why am I? And then so I took the ketoconazole. Little did I know, and do other men know, that the azoles, they're especially trying to push fenbendazole on people now and other things. Azoles, especially ketoconazole, is known to destroy testosterone production. Absolutely destroy it. You just look up ketoconazole and testosterone. There's all sorts of research on it. So I think I damaged my testosterone early on. I think that was one of the things that led to my later like prostate issues because this was my teenage years. And then I tried the ketoconazole shampoo, but they said you got to leave it on for like half hour, or he said you could do Selsun Blue or Head and Shoulders, and you just smear it on the shampoos. You'd smear it on and you'd leave it on for like a half hour, and after you do that enough days, it would go away. Okay, well I looked at the active ingredients in Selsun Blue. The active ingredient in Selsun Blue is selenium, a mineral. Okay, the active ingredient in Head and Shoulders is zinc, another mineral. And I went, so wait, is this a mineral deficiency? And then I'm like 16 or 17 when they're doing this, and I'm going, is this a mineral deficiency? Like, because they're feeding minerals into my skin, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, you would absorb minerals into your skin if you put it on the top. I mean, one of our biggest selling products, our most popular product now, is magnesium lotion. So we actually give people magnesium through the skin, and it works so much better than pills.
Wow. Okay.
So when they were saying this, I was like, okay, maybe I have a selenium deficiency or a zinc deficiency. So I chose selenium, and I took a lot of it. I researched it, and I was like, how much can I take? Because I want to like hit this hard, and you don't do that forever. And I did, and the tinea versicolor went away and never came back. So that was like one of the things that I started developing into what what eventually became my approach to health. So yeah, the prostate thing went away, the psoriasis thing went away, the the tinea versicolor thing went away, and then the insomnia. Oh my gosh, I'm very familiar with how people say you could go insane from lack of sleep. Like my mental state in those days of not sleeping well was really bad,
Yeah.
and I used to be really EMF sensitive, and those are basically gone now. So all these things that we do, it all eventually developed into what we call toxic bile paradigm. Now we used to call it toxic bile theory. It's a whole approach to health that can explain to people why certain things, why their health was better at certain points of their life and why their health was worse at certain points of their life. Even why when they tried doing certain, let's say, fads, it helped for a while, but then it faded off. Like how many of us have done that? I mean, that's what
Sure.
I was actually blessed with a very rapid ability to both feel better and then feel worse on things, so I could weed through these things very quickly. Other people, maybe not as blessed as I am, stay on it longer and they do a lot more damage to their health. And we get the people who have done, the people who come to me and say, I've done everything. And I'm like, well, You probably haven't done everything. I've probably done more than you, but it doesn't really matter. You're here now. You know that all these other things haven't worked. All the more mainstream and even what I call mainstream alternative things haven't worked. And now we're going to go like way outside of it. As an example, so I believe vitamin A, what they call vitamin A,
Mhm.
is a toxin. I believe that, I mean, I don't believe this. Vitamin D3 supplements that they sell to you, go look up the active ingredient in the rodenticides, the rat poisons, D-con, so D-con and Terra D3. It's in the name, right?
Right.
TERA-D3. Vitamin D, vitamin D3 is the active ingredient in those rat poisons. And those rat poisons are the next level that they use after the warfarin Coumadin ones stop working on the mice and the rats. So
Wow. Okay.
I regularly get people off vitamin D supplements and they feel better. So there's a ton of wild stuff out there. And then my last show, just to blow people's minds even further, they can either come towards this or they can run away from it after this one. We just did a whole like 3 hour show on MSG. MSG is actually good for you. And we've been told MSG plus healthy foods is good for you. MSG in trash foods is more trash.
Hmm.
So you can amplify the effects of things by what you're eating. You can make worse things worse, or you can make a good thing worse and you can make good things better. So we just went over that and we had like 8 testimonials on the show of people making significant health gains since they eat the way that I suggest and they added some MSG to their foods. So yeah, we're really out there. I really believe that there is a distinct effort by whoever they are to specifically tell us to do the wrong things. And I'm out there telling people what I believe is correct, and that's why we're seeing things get better that other people don't see get better. So
Gotcha.
that's
All right. So the natural question to the end of that, because you unpacked a ton, so I got to go back and cover a couple of things here. But just the last one that you threw out there, the natural question, and that is they want us to have the wrong things, and I'm with you on the them thing.
yes.
But the question is why? To what end do they want that done, in your opinion?
They they would like less people on the planet,
Wow.
especially less people of the type who would resist them. That's their goal.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I would love to get into that at some point, but we're gonna because I don't disagree with you.
Well, I mean, we have to really, when we think about it, people could go, "Well, I don't believe that." And I can go, well, you've heard the saying, I'm sure, the point of a system is what it does.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
if we look at how sick people are, especially how sick people are becoming and how quickly they're becoming sick in especially Western countries, especially if we wanted to say white countries, there's a goal. The point of the system is what it does. So if it's making everybody sick and and we see longevity going down now
Hmm.
in Western countries, the point of a system is what it does. We should look at actions, not words, right?
Right.
So whatever they're doing is very bad for us. And
For
we
sure.
have to at some point wonder, like, right, they say never attribute something to maliciousness that might just be stupidity, right? We have to go, how can so many stupid mistakes be being made over and over? And then I put together in like my live streams how these things synergize with each other. It's
Yeah.
like yeah, I'm not a big fan of jabs. And it's funny that they give the World Health Organization in countries will give jabs with injections of vitamin A. And I say both of those are toxic. And then we have Bill Gates. There's only one vitamin that is said that you're not supposed to, women should not overconsume it during pregnancy. There's only one vitamin that they say that with, and that's vitamin A. And then what's Bill Gates out there doing with the vitamin angels? They are out there giving prenatals to women with vitamin A in them.
Hmm.
At the very mid, so the Teratology Society, the Birth Defect Society, said 3,000 units a day of vitamin A is what pregnant women should shoot for, which is less than the RDA. So the Birth Defect Society said women should be getting less than the RDA of vitamin A a day so they don't get birth defects in their children. So the prenatals that Bill Gates and the vitamin angels give to people in third world countries contains exactly that amount of vitamin A, which means that anything they get in their diet is
Uh,
above that. And then they're fortifying sugar, they're fortifying milk, they're fortifying cereals, they're fortifying all these things with, I mean, they're seriously fortifying sugar and cooking oils. And then they're trying to make yellow, what they call golden rice, GMO rice that makes its own vitamin A. It's yellow rice. They're trying to like poison people with this compound every single way they can. And I did a whole thread on how it's an infertility toxin. I have a whole series of live streams on what I call the infertility psyop, where they're trying to make us all sterile. And all these things work together. So, it's a lot for people to think about. That's
mhm.
okay. I'm not here to, be smaller and not bring these things to light, but when people see it, it's at the start, it's really an eye opener.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Somebody hearing this for the first time is probably, blown over. I'm a little surprised that YouTube's letting you talk on their platform about this stuff.
I'm pretty good with my words.
Okay. All
I've
right.
had
So,
one video taken down.
all right.
I've had one video taken down and we know exactly what it was now. And I
There you
have
go.
one strike right now. So yeah, we know what to say. I've always been pretty good at what to say and what not to. And then I'm often reading literal studies on my show.
Hmm.
And I kind of tend, that's why we talk about they and them and, jabs. And that's
Right.
why we use, not always distinct language. People are like, tell me who they are. And I'm like, I'm not going there. I like my channel. I'm going to keep my
Right.
channel on.
That would be the end of your show.
If you can't figure it out, maybe you're not ready for it yet.
Very
So,
good point. Now, let me ask you this because you're talking a lot about vitamin A toxicity.
mhm.
Vitamin A occurs naturally in what? For folks who don't really know where this, like, how do we get it in our diets naturally
Okay.
that we have to worry about?
So vitamin A in nature, well, it starts as carotenoids with like beta carotene, if you've heard of
Okay.
beta carotene.
Yep, absolutely.
Beta carotene and all vitamin A, when people will say, "Oh, well, the vitamin A in animals is different than the vitamin A or the stuff that's in plants is not animal vitamin A." No, it's vitamin A comes from the whole vitamin A family starts in plants. So which plants are going to be the highest in that? It's going to be things that are yellow, the part of the plant that you eat, the literal part of the plant that you eat, if it is yellow, if it is orange, if it is red, if it is dark green. Those things are the highest in carotenoids, plant what I call plant vitamin A. And
Wow.
then when animals consume these things, whether so like grass, yes, grass is going to have plenty of carotenoids in it that the cows eat. So if we feed cattle, let's say, we feed them grass or we feed them, farmers will feed them vitamin A supplements in their food, then cattle they can take, so one beta carotene, this is the silliest thing that people out there will deny about vitamin A. They'll say the vitamin A in animals is different than the plants. Okay, one beta carotene, oops, sorry, my
That's all right.
my virtual camera sometimes decides to just go rogue and zoom out because I put my hands up. I got to figure out
Right.
how to turn this thing off so it doesn't do that. But anyway,
Okay.
so one retinaldehyde. I'm sorry, one beta carotene molecule. One
Okay.
beta carotene molecule can be broken up in an animal's body or in our body into what are called two retinaldehydes, which are two of the aldehyde form of vitamin A. Aldehydes are not good for us. And yet we're going to say that this retinaldehyde is part of a family of vitamins that are essential for us to live. So we have the carotenoids, which are generally less harmful, more easily stored in the body. They can be stored in your body fat and your skin. This is why when people, let's say, do too much carrot juicing or eat too much red palm oil, they can literally turn yellow or orange on their skin. We collect it in our body. When it goes to the liver, it tends to turn into what's called retinol, which is an alcohol. It turns into retinaldehyde, which is an aldehyde, and then it turns into retinoic acid. Literally, retinoic acid in our body there's several compounds. One of them is exactly the same compound as Accutane, which is known to be a horribly toxic medication. And the other one is retin-A, which also destroys people's skin the longer they use it. These are retinoic acids, the worst form of vitamin A. So when people are eating in animal foods, so we went over the plant foods. In animal foods, the highest sources of vitamin A tend to be eggs. What color is the egg yolk? It's yellow.
Hmm.
It tells you, right? It's very obvious. Then we get into organ meats, kidneys, liver, stuff like that. The detox organs. Don't eat kidneys or liver. It collects toxic metals, collects vitamin A. It's not good for you. So we got dairy, organ meats, eggs. What else is there? We generally don't eat pork. Multiple reasons we don't eat pork, but that's not necessarily a huge vitamin A issue. What else is there? Yeah, those are the main vitamin A sources.
Jeez. I mean, that's plenty. I'll eat eggs and carrots all the time. So now I'm kind of like a little worried.
Well, then, so this is what I tell people. Like all of a sudden, if you look at your diet
Mhm.
and you go, "Holy crap, I'm eating a lot of these things. I'm eating these things every day."
Yeah.
Then I start going, okay, well, I used to do the same thing. I was into paleo and doing sweet potatoes and spinach with my meat. And I was doing, there was a time where I was doing spinach salads. And there was a time where I was blending up raw liver with frozen blueberries and making this like shake sludge to just choke down.
Oh, wow.
And when I finally, like, my now ex-wife at the time was like, I don't want you to have raw liver in the fridge. I was doing raw liver. I don't want this in the fridge. It smells. It's gross. Can you stop? And I was like, okay, so I don't want to. I'm tired of fighting her on this. But then I thought, am I feeling like I should feel amazing on this like superfood sludge? Do I feel amazing? I don't. Okay. What if I stop doing it? What if I just stop and I see how I feel? Like this is a very important thing for people to do, their own investigation, their own like
Right.
nutrition detective work. And I stopped it. And after about a week or two, I thought, do I feel better? And I went, I do. I actually feel better. I have better energy and I'm not, I feel better. So I've poisoned myself with the various forms of vitamin A, whether it's supplements or food. I never ended up going into the pharmaceutical realm, the Accutane or the Retin-A, because skin problems have never been a problem of mine. One of the problems with vitamin A toxicity is people want it to all be like, what symptoms do I have if I have this? And I'm like, do you have health issues that you want to fix? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, you quite possibly have it. This can affect every single thing in your body. And
Wow.
that's like what my psoriasis, my insomnia. So if it's insomnia, it's probably affecting the nervous system. Psoriasis is affecting the skin. The lower back stiffness and pain that I really used to have bad. I believe that's kidneys referring pain to the lower back. And we have multiple people. I just posted a testimonial of a guy who went from stage 4 chronic kidney disease, which is right before kidney failure. He did our diet. He got back to a stage 1, which is right back before normal. So kidneys hate vitamin A. And
Man.
so yeah, we just so that's where I tell people, like, I mean, it can be simple substitutions. I mean, with eggs, you got to find another. You could do egg whites. Egg whites are a lot better than the yolks. But you just start replacing things and you start moving in the right direction. And then people often start noticing, they're like, oh, this feels better. Oh, this is doing better. Oh, wow, this is. And I go, yeah, that's kind of how this works. It is a process. We call it a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
We are undoing decades of toxicity in people.
So
So,
why is nobody else talking about vitamin A toxicity? Because I got to be honest, I've never ever heard of this until I was, sitting here researching you. And then I started really thinking about it. So give me the skinny on that. Why is nobody else talking about this?
um, I think people, well, as an example, I knew one woman who kind of joined me at the start of the vitamin A is a toxin process. She had been a client of mine before that,
Hmm.
and she was a nutritionist. And she was able to latch onto the vitamin A thing, but not completely. She was like, I think it might still be needed. And then when I started jumping to more topics that were outside of the norm, then she went, I just can't. What I'm getting at is her investment in her nutrition. For her to say that the multiple things that I was going after were correct would mean that she wasted all that money on her nutrition degree. People are invested in protecting what they thought they knew.
Right.
And most people cannot go against the crowd. They just don't have the gumption. They're like, how could all these people be wrong? And then you look around and you go, how many people are sick out there? Like people want to often blame it on one thing. You got the seed oil crowd, and then you got the ultra processed food crowd, and then you got this, the carnivore crowd where they're like, I was actually just thinking of maybe doing a video today about like a carnivore doctor. Like somebody comes to them with a problem and they're doing carnivore and they're like, I'm eating, only meat or only this stuff. And I have this problem and it's getting worse. And then I'm like, what's the carnivore doctor going to say? Eat more meat. Like that's their only tool. Like they don't have any tools other than that. So, and we've fixed broken carnivores before. And it can be hard to get them out. Like the people who come to me, the sickest people who come to me are the ones who did Accutane or the ones who got super vitamin A toxic with like carnivore, nose to tail carnivore, where they're doing tons of dairy, tons of eggs, tons of organ meats, and it's a disaster. They have so much stored in them. So,
Hmm.
yeah, why is nobody else talking about it? Because all of a sudden they start going, well, wait, all I heard all these foods were good for us, and then they go, well, suppose my great granddaddy ate this stuff and he was strong as an ox, or whatever. And I go, okay, well, here's the problem is the logic doesn't always follow in that when we start realizing that we are made up of what our parents were made of or not made of, for better or worse. You start going back generations and it starts looking like the things your great granddaddy did and then each generation after that could have been passed down to you. It doesn't mean that what they did made them healthy. It means that they could have been relatively clean and they didn't push themselves to the breaking point. But then each generation after that is living shorter.
Hmm.
And then we see all the sick people we have today. So this is kind of I've said it like it's kind of like the sins of the father shall be visited upon the son. It's we hand down toxicities and deficiencies to our children.
Wow.
We don't have to I mean,
Okay.
people that scares the crap out of people because then they
Yeah.
have to take responsibility. So if your kid was born messed up, that is the couple's fault. They have to take responsibility for it. Most people just don't have any guts, is the sad part to take responsibility. And part of my work, I tell people like I am not with all the genetic mixing and the ethnic mixing that we've had, even if it's just from different areas of Europe mixing with each other. The problem is you may be getting certain, you say, well, my mom is this and my dad is this. So, and my mom cooks this. And so that's what I eat. Well, what if your dad was getting sick from eating what your mom cooked? And then you're also kind of like your dad. And so then you're getting sick from what your mom cooked because they're not they don't tolerate the same foods. So then we have to get into each person has to figure out what they tolerate best. There is
Wow.
no protocol. If people can look at my food lists of things that I suggest, and they could say, okay, well, I'll try. Like I do think beans are really good for most people. However, there's people who don't tolerate beans at all, and so if they keep eating them, they will feel bad. There's a person who really dislikes me on the internet because she ate tons of beans for a year. And I will specifically say, I have a saying, it's called Doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that,
Don't do
right?
that.
That's joke, right?
Right.
So I would say if you don't feel good on beans, don't eat them. And this person completely ignored that statement for a year and then blamed me that she didn't feel good after a year because she kept eating something that I would have told her to stop eating. So we have,
Right.
we have a problem with people taking responsibility for themselves and realizing that they have to figure it out. I give people what I call a framework to work within,
Right.
and they have to figure out what works for them. And not everybody wants to do that. People want to be just like, well, I can just do like carnivore and eat meat. They want to take their brain out of it. So like there's all muscle meat carnivore. You just eat meat. Okay, no brain involved, right? And then there's vegan. Just don't eat animal products. And then we get to the point in the nutrition wars where people don't know what to eat anymore. They have no idea what to eat, and then you're stuck with fasting, which became popular, right? So just don't eat anything. So you start to see that all of this is kind of lunacy, and there is no guiding principle to most of these approaches, and that's what I've come up with. And and people will say we do a restrictive diet, and I'm like, compared to carnivore, that's humorous because we actually include stuff in basically every food group. There is stuff in every. We're not throwing out carbs. We're not saying no fat. We're not throwing out no grains. We're not throwing out everything. We've got stuff in every group. We just specifically pick things that are prioritized as low vitamin A.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. I love this so much. Okay. I get exactly what you're saying about why this isn't coming up then, especially because I mean the vitamin A thing, it's in so many different things. Uh, just like I said, just carrots and eggs for me. It's like you got to be kidding me. I mean, really, I've been eating this all this time, but I get that. I wanted to go back for just a second to the toxic bile that you were
Yes.
talking about. And for those of us who don't have medical degrees of any kind, what, just layman's terms, what is toxic bile,
Okay.
and why should we worry about it?
Well, we'll start with just bile,
Okay.
right? Okay. So bile is a compound that's made by your liver and it's excreted by your liver. It goes into your gallbladder, and then your gallbladder tends to squirt it out and it goes into your intestines. So think of your gallbladder as like a reservoir for it. It holds it while you make more of it because when you eat, it wants to squeeze it out. Why does it squeeze it out when you eat? Because it has some stuff in it that helps you break down foods and it also helps you absorb dietary fats. So that's what most people know about it. It actually also has some properties where it keeps your small intestine. It's supposed to keep your small intestine from having certain bacteria like grow out of control.
Okay.
So that's what most people know about it as being something good. And most healthcare practitioners, even the alternative healthcare practitioners, they're just like, oh, we need to make your bile thinner or have you make more bile, or they just start supplementing bile from like ox bile supplements. Or they give TUDCA, which is a bile acid. Well, we don't do that. So bile, the other function of bile that no one talks about. Okay, so your liver is your main detox organ. It processes your blood so many times in a day. It is a filter by definition. A filter is something that takes something out of another thing, like a fluid. It takes, like a water filter, takes stuff out of the water. Your liver, as the blood goes through it, it takes stuff out of it to process it. That's what your liver does. So there's tons of health experts out there, especially the ones who want to sell you on organ meats, who will tell you that the liver is not a filter. It's a filter by definition. Then we have the liver is what I call a sewage processing plant. Sewage processing plant, it gets sewage and it turns it into something that's less toxic, or you could reclaim the water, right? Probably not the cleanest water, but you could reclaim the water. And then even the sewage treatment plant then has to get rid of what they took out of the water or what they processed, right? It has waste, just like a nuclear reactor has waste. Sewage
Right.
processing plant has waste. It's
Right.
going to do one of two things with that. It's either going to store it or accumulate it, in the research is the word you look for. So the liver stores toxins. This is one of the things it does. If it can't get, this is the analogy. If you as a person, you have a job or you have a business and you have things you have to do, you have a certain number of things that you have to do and more come each day. Okay. If you start getting behind, let's say you get sick for a week and you have a week's worth of work that you still have to do, it doesn't just go somewhere, right? You just have a stack of stuff on your desk, a stack of jobs to do. They don't go away. You just store them until you can get to them. So most people's livers are running way behind. They can't keep up with their daily load, much less the old load. And so they start accumulating it. Imagine this. if you had fat soluble toxins, fat storable toxins, which when we hear about plastics and plasticizers and forever chemicals and
Right.
pesticides and all this stuff, and vitamin A as a fat soluble toxin, where do you think we would store that? If it's fat soluble, where do you think we'd store it?
Yeah, it's going to store in the liver, right? When it comes
Well,
through.
the liver is, the liver has fat in it, yes,
Yeah.
but we would store it in the fat, right? That's where you would store it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, gotcha.
So if I was saying we have too many fat soluble toxins in our environment, in our diet, around us, and one of the ways your body, if it cannot keep up with its workload of detox, it has to store it. What
Stores it.
would it make more of to store these toxins?
Fat.
Fat. Okay.
I got you
So
now.
we would start making more body fat and we would start making what we call fatty liver.
Wow.
Funny coincidence, fatty liver, when you go and look up fatty liver pictures on the internet, the liver is supposed to be this like magenta color. But if you look up fatty liver, they start coloring it yellow. What's one of the main colors of vitamin A?
Yeah, yellow.
Yellow. So then we start going, okay, this is starting to make sense. So anyway, the liver's either going to store it or dump it. So how does the liver dump its toxins when it's ready to get rid of them? Well, it puts them into the bile because the bile then goes down into your intestines. This is what's supposed to happen. It goes into your intestines, it mixes with the food. Bile tends to dump, I call it, when you eat. Eating is a big trigger for a bile dump, especially fatty foods or fiber foods. So then those things mix with it, and then your body actually reabsorbs a lot of it. 95% in the standard American diet, you're going to reabsorb 95% of that bile, and then you poop out 5% of it on a standard American diet. We do things that make us poop out more bile than normal. So that bile contains, by definition, if your liver concentrates toxins in that bile, and your liver is your main detox organ, the bile is therefore, by definition, the most toxic fluid in your entire body. You want to get rid of it. If you're trying to get rid of toxins or to detox, you want to get rid of it. You want it out of you rather than recycling it. So what happens with toxic bile? So let's say we have these people who are their liver's not keeping up. They're not getting rid of very much bile. Let's say they're constipated all the time. Or when people get super toxic bile, then they'll get diarrhea all the time because their gut says, this is horribly caustic. Like, we don't want this. Poop it out. Like, get rid of it. So what happens with the bile over time as it gets more and more toxic? Well, let me give you one example of a vitamin A example of how toxic bile starts leaking into your system and causing you your health problems. Okay, got to pay attention here. Retinoic acid, specifically all trans retinoic acid, is used in aesthetic medicine as a chemical peel for people's faces. They call it a yellow peel. So they rub this yellow vitamin A on women's faces, especially, and then it's going to dissolve the upper several layers of cells, and then it stimulates the body to bring up new, baby soft skin underneath it. So they're basically destroying skin to trigger new skin production.
Okay.
In one paper about yellow chemical peels, about retinoic acid chemical peels, the doctor said we use this to create controlled wounds in the skin. Controlled wounds. That's what they're doing. Okay. Now imagine if one of the ways your body gets rid of vitamin A is in the bile, and your body turns vitamin A as it goes along into retinoic acid. You now have a literal chemical peel in your liver, in your bile ducts, in your gut, in your intestines. You heard it. We talked about leaky gut, right? How could we create leaky gut other than actually dissolving the gut cells with a chemical peel? So as the bile becomes more toxic, it becomes more caustic, and it can causes more damage. It starts actually, I have research on all of these. It starts damaging the liver cells that make the bile, so they get leaky. It damages the bile ducts that are the little teeny tiny bile ducts, like think of them like capillaries in the blood vessels, but they're little teeny tiny bile ducts inside the liver. So you can leak bile like directly out of your liver those ways. Then, as the bile gets into the big bile ducts and the gallbladder, as it goes down into your intestines, it eats holes there. And then it can leak into your bloodstream from there and you reabsorb it, which then usually goes right back to the liver. But then it can also, if you have another type of problem, it can go back up into your stomach. Reflux, like when we talk about GERD, there's a reason why they call it gastroesophageal reflux and they don't call it acid reflux anymore. Is because not everybody has acid in their reflux. Everybody with reflux has bile in it. It's going back up into your stomach. And then it eats holes in your stomach. Do you know what do we call holes in your stomach?
Ulcers, right?
Ulcers.
Yeah. Okay.
Why would our stomach that's designed for stomach acid suddenly start developing holes from stomach acid? Like the stomach is the thing that's designed for the acid.
Right.
What could eat holes in your stomach that's not supposed to be there? Bile. So we have these things where it
Hmm.
eats holes, and once it eats these holes, this toxic bile, the most toxic fluid in your body, is now floating around your entire system. Where do the problems show up? Wherever your weak links are. You know, we have a mixture of the toxicities that are in there, and we have a mixture of the deficiencies that are not there, if you will. So that's the basics of it. So in effect, we are most of our diseases, our chronic health issues are in effect a sort of self-poisoning.
Wow.
And as we do three main things to fix this problem. We stop putting the poisons in, right? So think of that work analogy where you're stacking up jobs
Yeah.
that you can't finish. Well, what would be the easiest way for you to catch up? Well, if jobs, oh God, it did it again. If jobs stopped coming in, if all of a sudden you didn't have new work coming in,
Yeah.
you
Then you
could
can
you
get
could
caught up
catch
on the
up.
old. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So our first priority is to stop putting the poisons in as much as we can. Then your body
Okay.
can start catching up. Even if your body's really slow at it and really terrible at it, at least there's less overload. Then we start doing things to facilitate the removal of stored toxins. That's things like there's the nutrient part, but there's things like soluble fiber. Soluble fiber grabs onto toxic bile and helps you poop it out. There's things like charcoal. We use something called zeolite, which also grabs onto bile and helps you poop it out. So we want to grab onto as much of that bile as possible and poop it out. The first priority is just pooping. You need to poop. A lot of people don't poop well. So first we work on that, and then we work on binding more of the toxic bile. The third thing is we correct nutrient deficiencies that are there. And there's not that many nutrients that people really need to work on. But the ones that we do need to work on are really important. And they both help protect the body from these toxins and they help run the detox systems. And that's the gist of what we do. That's the simplistic framework of what we do. The key things are knowing what the toxins are, first of all, to
Right.
avoid. Second thing is knowing what binds the toxins and how to use those. And then third is optimally we are testing. We do hair testing and blood testing to look at how best and which nutrients people need. And then people just have to try these things out. Because as I'm sure everybody knows, like, especially let's say married people, one person takes a supplement and they're like, this is amazing. And then the other person takes it and they're like, oh my God, I felt like hell on that.
Right.
And you go, well, why do these things affect people differently? I don't have an answer. I just know, doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that. But it seems like mind blowing, right? But why don't other practitioners do that? They'll be like, oh no, just keep taking it. You'll eventually feel better. And I'm like, when has that ever worked? Like if somebody gave you a pharmaceutical and you're like, I feel like god awful on this, and they're like, oh no, just keep taking it. It'll get better, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
So your body's telling you, it's like, don't do this, please stop.
Right. So all three of those steps, then that sounds like it's all able to be handled through diet, natural, like homeopathic stuff. You're not because you're not talking about any additional hormones or prescription pills or any of that nature. I mean, can all of this be handled naturally?
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's what we do. We very regularly something that other people say, they warn people, and I was taught this kind of in medical school. They're like, once somebody gets on thyroid hormone, they're pretty much on it. Like they don't get off. Well, we help people get off of thyroid hormone. We
Hmm.
bring their thyroid back to functioning and working. So there's people like, I mean, I experimented with TRT, I don't know, 15 years ago. I tried it out. I would never do it again. And we have guys who want to get off of it and they're able to. It takes a lot of work. But yeah, we don't do hormones. I don't prescribe anything for anybody. If people are already on medications, we can help them with, their we don't take people off of medications. The people themselves and or with the help of their physician, if the physician wants to be helpful, they decide when they get off the medications and how they get off. We can help with a bit of guidance on how that might be best done or what to watch for, but they're doing it on their own because since we're all virtual and most of my health facilitators and we don't have prescription powers in other states. We don't do that. But as an example, let me give you a quick example of how this might happen for somebody. So, person starts doing the program, and they start. Let's say they're on thyroid medication. Okay, so they're medicated to a good amount, whatever. They start doing the program, and as they're getting less toxic and more nutrient restored, repleted, their thyroid starts working better, right? But they're still on the same thyroid hormone. So eventually they start getting to the point where their thyroid production plus the thyroid hormone they're on pushes them into what's called hyperthyroidism. They're on too much thyroid hormone. And I always warn them when we start, I'm like, this is probably going to happen. And you need to watch for if you sometimes they've been over medicated before and they're like, oh, yeah, I know what that feels like. And if they haven't, I'm like, you need to watch for these symptoms. And if you get these symptoms, I need you to know that that is a really good sign that your thyroid's coming back online and that is probably that you're over medicated now. And I tell them what to do to like a couple days worth of trials to see if they're on too much thyroid medication.
Hmm.
And if they are, then we just drop their dose. Or they drop it. They drop it. I should say it that way. So yeah, it's and that's really how it goes. If somebody was on a blood pressure medication and
Hmm.
we start getting them better, well, if their blood pressure was high because they were toxic or deficient and they start getting less toxic and deficient and their blood pressure comes down, then all of a sudden you're going to see the blood pressure medication push them too low.
Right.
So then we just start going, okay, well, we're going to wean off some of this medication and see if this fixes it. And if it does, then we go, oh yeah, your blood pressure is fixing itself. So we're big believers that most medicine, even alternative medicine, tends to believe that once the body is broken, it's broken forever. We don't believe that. We believe that the things that get in the way of the body functioning are excess toxins and a lack of specific nutrients.
Wow.
And if we fix those, the body then fixes itself, which is what we want, right?
I love this stuff because it all just seems to make total sense, to you as a layman, going, okay, well, that makes sense. So why aren't we doing it? Um,
I
but
don't understand why. I sit there sometimes and I really think I'm going, why am I the guy to put these together? Is it just that other people didn't have the tool of the low vitamin A thing to really kick it off?
right.
Because I got that from somebody else. I got that from Grant Genereux and a researcher named Anthony Mawson, and they put the initial thing together of the experimentation. Grant fixed his chronic kidney disease. He was about to go on dialysis, and he had jaundice and he eczema, and he decided he through his own research on eczema, which was the thing that bothered him the most. He figured out that of the 10 foods that triggered eczema the most, vitamin A was in 9 of the 10. So he thought, okay, let me just try to make a vitamin A free diet. And he did, and all of a sudden, over about I think 2 or 3 years, all of those problems went away.
Wow.
So it was just it was a lucky it was a smart approach, and he got in a way lucky to figure it out. And then now I ran with it, and I've kind of taken it to the next level. So yeah.
Nice. Now, saying, okay, vitamin A free diet or
Oh no, there is
a
no such thing as a vitamin A free diet.
okay. Thank you for the
No.
correction. But a diet that's lower in
Yes.
vitamin A. Okay. So you're trying to reduce your
Yes.
vitamin A intake. So when you're trying to put a diet like that together, if people may not necessarily know how to start that,
Right.
I think I saw something where you have a course or some sort of list that
Yeah.
you're putting out.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, people can look up various. I mean, I don't trust them all, but they can look up low vitamin A diets on the internet. We have lots of people who are, proselytizing it on the internet, if you will. And the big things that, so if people wanted to, the whole course, so my course is much more than just a low vitamin A food list. I always tell people that
Okay.
we're so much more than just low vitamin A. If it was just that simple, that'd be great. But it's more than that. So my program, which is the Love Your Liver program, they can find it at either the membership link on my main website, or you can go to members.nutritiondetective.com. That's where we go into all the details. Like, people have told me it is the most comprehensive health program that they've come across. And even still, we're mainly focusing on nutrition and detox, and they still say it's the most comprehensive one that they've come across. So there's that. I mean, the simple list is this. It can be substitutions, right? So let's say somebody's eating a bunch of eggs and organ meats and dairy. Well, you got to have protein. Okay, so muscle meats like red meats and poultry. That's where we focus. Okay. So I mean, most people are like, okay, you got your protein. It's not like there's no protein. We're not going vegan.
Right.
And then we get into things like beans, if people tolerate them, of course. We get into things like whole grains. We especially like, so like, there's beans that we're not too big a fan of, but there's grains like that we do tend to like a lot, like oats. Oats are really high in soluble fiber. That's why they kind of clump and goo together. That's the soluble fiber in them doing that. That's why like refried beans kind of become a big clump, is because the soluble fiber in them. So
Okay.
we have those. And then there's certain vegetables and fruits that we do use. The big rules on plant foods. So I talked about the colors of plant foods that we don't want to eat,
Mhm.
of the parts of the plant. But then there's the if you're gonna pick a plant food, it would be like the colors you want to look for of the part that you're eating: white, off-white, light green. So I'll go over an example of one that, confuses people sometimes at the start. They go, well, what about a banana? We love bananas on the program. The yellow part you peel off and you throw it away. You eat the white, off-white part. That's low in vitamin A. Now, I just
Okay.
saw, this is a crazy thing. I just saw people drinking organic banana water. Like, it's a new electrolyte drink, whatever. Well, a guy sends it to me and he says, this has a crazy amount of vitamin A in it. And I thought about it for 1 second. I went, they're juicing the peel into it. They're not just juicing the banana, they're
Uh,
juicing the literal peel. And that's the only place where that vitamin A could come from. So I went, I'm not touching that stuff. I actually did a post on Twitter about it. Besides the aluminum can, with the neurodegeneration of the aluminum in your brain and all. You don't want, there was lots of reasons why you don't want to do that. But yeah, so like
man.
bananas are an example. Or so if you were eating carrots and, somebody wanted a replacement for carrots. Well, parsnips, you can find white carrots, first of all. Trader Joe's has a bag of mixed color carrots that has some white carrots in it. So, or you could grow your own white carrots, or like parsnips are an option that are kind of like carrots that are white. So instead of sweet potatoes, we're not a huge fan of white potatoes, but instead of sweet potatoes, if somebody just wanted to switch to a lower vitamin A option, they could go from sweet potatoes to white potatoes. So there
Okay.
are simple substitutions. Instead of eating kale, they could go to like iceberg lettuce. So there's simple moves that people can do to drastically reduce the vitamin A. When you're seeing like oranges and reds and yellows, that's where some of the big problems start. And other than the animal foods that are the big ones, but everybody
Wow.
likes to eat meat. I mean, so the ones
Most of
usually
us.
people
Yeah.
are like, you mean I don't have to eat liver anymore? Because oh, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, you don't ever have to touch liver or kidney again. And people actually, the funny thing is after they've been off eggs for a while, like, you may be like, well, I eat eggs every day. Well, after they've been off of them for a while and they get their vitamin A levels down, they're like, I don't really want eggs anymore. It's crazy what happens to people when I have a saying, which is What's what I'm trying to think of that one. Um, Poisons beget poisons. The more toxic we are, the more toxins we want. We've all seen it
Hmm.
where people kind of spiral down and they start adding more and more toxic things to their routine.
Yeah.
So as the opposite body saying, look, I know that that's not good for me. It's like smokers, cigarette smokers, when they smoke, they don't notice how terrible they smell. They don't notice
Hmm.
that the cigarettes are like disgusting. But then once the crazy thing is, and we've all seen this, where a smoker will quit, and then later on, they are the person who is most anti-smoking. They're the person who is like, oh my God, I can smell cigarette smoke. We got to get out of here. Like, this is terrible. I don't want to be around this. So their body actually now, once they got rid of that toxin, their body is like, stay away from this forever. It's not good for you. So
Wow.
this happens with a lot of toxins once people get off of them and their body recognizes it. So yeah.
I mean,
Anyway,
wow. I tell you what, I'm gonna have to have you back on, man, because I've got like 15 more questions and I'm running out of time. So, let
okay.
me.
This is normal. This is totally normal for me
You
going on
warned me.
podcasts.
You warned me ahead of time. You're like, we're not going to get to it all, man. I'm
I
like,
did.
yeah, 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 we will. And yeah, nope, not even close. You really unpack a lot, brother, and I appreciate you. I appreciate the work you're doing, and I appreciate the fact that you're bringing this out to people and making them think about this kind of thing. Because man, I've never heard this before about vitamin A, and like I said, my wife and I talk about it all the time. So as we kind of wrap this session, and let me just say, I'd love to have you back.
Mhm.
So if you're open, I'd love to have you come back and talk
I
to
would
our
love to be
guys.
back.
All right, thank you for that. So your book now, you can't back out of it. So I got your commitment on air.
Nope.
All right, good deal. Let everybody know how they can reach you, where they can find you, that type of thing, and we will absolutely schedule another one of these folks. I promise.
Okay. Awesome. Well, so my main website is nutritiondetective.com. That's where you can find pretty much all my stuff. The things on that website you can find, there's the Love Your Liver program. If you want to do the Do It Yourself program, that's at the membership link. And then we do have I make, you can imagine with all the stuff we've talked about today, I do manufacture some of our own specific supplements, and I am absolutely a stickler about what is in them and what is not. We try to put, most of our supplements are one ingredient because I want people to be able to like do the detective work of, does this dose of zinc make me feel better or make me feel worse? We don't do kitchen sink products like everybody else is trying to do, because
Right.
if one ingredient in a kitchen sink product doesn't work for a person, the whole thing doesn't work, right? So it only takes, or as I'll joke, I'll say, like, if you have a gallon of clean water, for the amazing water, and you put one drop of sewage in it, what is it now? It's sewage water.
Sewage water.
So you want things to be good. We kind of obsess on things being as clean as we can get them. So anyway, there's the supplements that we manufacture, and we make, like I talked about, the magnesium lotion is amazing. Then also on that, if people wanted to work with one of my health facilitators, we have several of those, Kelsey and Nathan. We do hair testing, we do blood testing, and we can do this for just about anywhere in the world. You don't have to come to our office. We do it all virtually, and then that's available there. So other places you can find me. A lot of people find me from my YouTube, the Love Your Liver live stream. I do it weekly. I just got past 4 years straight of doing one
Wow.
every week for 4 years. So that was
Congratulations.
that was
Wow.
episode 208. That was about four episodes ago. And yeah, so that's where people can go and watch those. A lot of people, I just warn people, binge watching, getting a binge watching addiction to my live streams is a real danger. So just be aware. It happens. People all the time are like, I've watched every single one, and I'm like, each one of these is like 2 hours at least.
Wow.
So that's a lot of time that they put in.
Yeah, it is.
Which is a compliment. I take that as the biggest compliment. They spend their time doing that. The other place where I'm most active on the internet is Twitter or X,
Mhm.
at NutriDetect, NutriDetect. Yeah, so those are the three main places to find me on the internet, and we're working on getting out there even more, like doing stuff like this, so new
All
people
right.
can learn about us.
Absolutely wonderful. Doc, I appreciate you very much. The nutrition detective, Dr. Garrett Smith, thank you for everything you brought to the show today and everything you shared with our folks. It's really been amazing, and I'm really looking forward to our next episode.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Folks, that's been another absolutely powerful episode of the Power Man podcast. And the reason that we bring these powerful men on here with this powerful information, these powerful messages, is because we are united in you getting back your power so that you can be a better protector, a better provider, a better leader tomorrow than you are today, so that you can be a better father, better husband, better man tomorrow than you are today. And the reason we want that for you is because you have value, because you're worth it. And you just have to believe it. Until next time.